is lesson 3 of the Solving Linear Equations unit, and we are solving multi-step equations, so equations with more than 2 steps essentially. And there's going to be variables on both sides of the equation, which might be new for you. This might be the first time you've seen that. What I would like to do is come back to our taco analogy that we had from the previous lesson and just remind you about collecting like terms, because we're going to need to do that here. So if you have, let's say, 3 tacos, 5 drinks, 4 tacos, and then you take away 2 drinks, let's say you drank them or something, we can add the like terms together. So the like terms would obviously be the tacos. So 3 plus 4, we'd end up with 7 tacos. And if you had 5 drinks and then you took away 2, you'd end up with 3 drinks. So those would also be like terms. So we can add numbers together, and we can also add terms that have x in them together. Those are like terms as well. Okay, so when I am solving an equation and I notice that there are variables on both sides, like here we have negative 3x on the left side and we have positive 7x on the right side. What I want to do first is move all of the variables to one side. Usually I like to pick the side, and you can pick either side, but usually I like to pick the side where it'll be a positive number. So pick the side where the coefficient will be positive. It's just easier to solve that way. So I can either choose to subtract 7x from both sides, or I can add 3x to both sides. So here what I'm going to do to both sides of the equation is add 3x. So I'll have negative 3x on the left side plus 3x. So essentially that goes away. It's going to be 0. And it'll bring all of the x's to the right-hand side. So let's see what we have now once I've done that. So on the left-hand side, all I'll be left with is 6. And on the right side, I'll be left with 26 plus 10x. Okay, so 7x plus 3x is 10x. Those are like terms, so we get to add those together. Okay, perfect. So now that I've brought all of the x's to one side of the equation, I'm going to get rid of all the numbers, so isolate x. So we're going to start with subtracting 26, and now this is just a question like we've done already before in lessons 1 and 2. So we'll have negative 20 equals 10x, and then we'll divide by 10. For the verifying, if you're comfortable doing this, you can go ahead and fast forward through this, but I'm just going to show you how to verify. So we take our left-hand side and our right-hand side, and wherever we see an x, we substitute what we think it's equal to. So we think it's equal to negative 2. So let's substitute negative 2 in for x. And this time we have to do it on both sides because there was an x on both sides of the equation. Okay. So first we multiply, so we have 6 plus 6 over here, and that equals to 12. And then on this side, we have 26 minus 14, which is also equal to 12. So we can see the right-hand side and left-hand side are equal. We must have the correct solution. Okay, if you want to try this one, you can go ahead and try it. We do have variables on both sides, so I'm going to choose which side to move the variables to. I always like to choose the side that's going to keep everything positive. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1h to both sides. So I'm going to cancel them out on the right side and move everything to the left side. You could do it the other way. It'll just mean that you have a negative coefficient, which is slightly more annoying to deal with. Okay, so 4h plus 1h is 5h. And on the right side, the h's have been canceled out, so I'll just have negative 14. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve like normal using opposite operations. So start by adding 11 to both sides. And I'll have 14 plus negative 14 plus 11, which is negative 3. And then I will divide by 5. And I will have h equals negative 3 over 5. So that doesn't divide evenly, so I'll just leave my answer in fraction form. Okay, so again, you can try this on your own if you want to pause the video here and try it. But we're basically going to substitute what we believe h is equal to, negative 3 over 5, on the left-hand side and make sure it's equal to the right-hand side. So I'll have 4. I'll do the left-hand side first. So we'll have negative 12 over 5 minus 11. So I'm going to create a common denominator. 55 over 5, so multiply the 11 by 5 over 5, and then that's going to be equal to negative 67 over 5. Okay, let's see this one. I substitute negative 3 over 5. So I get 3 over 5 minus, and I'm going to create a common denominator, so 14. If I multiply by 5 over 5, I'm going to get 70 over 5. 3 minus 70 is negative 67. And we see the left-hand side and the right-hand side are equal, so we're good to go. Okay, now let's try one that has brackets and y values on both sides. So here, first thing to do is distribute. You want to multiply this in here so that you can get that y value by itself. So we're going to multiply this by 0.3. And 6 times 0.3 is 1.8. Now here, we are dealing with a lot of decimals, so one thing we could do right away just to make this a little bit easier on ourselves is multiply everything by 10, because that'll shift the decimals over by one place to the right, and I won't have to deal with decimals anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to make my life a little bit easier. So as long as I'm doing it to both sides of the equation, I'm not changing the solution at all. And then I'm going to go ahead and work on moving all the y values to one side of the equation. So I'm going to decide to add 1y to both sides. Okay, let me just give myself a little more space. I might run out of room here, but that's okay. So I'll have 4y plus 18 equals 56. I'm going to subtract 18. 56 minus 18 is equal to 38. I'm going to divide by 4. And I get 38 divided by 4, which is 9.5. Okay, let's go ahead and verify that that's true. Again, you can feel free to zoom ahead here and try this on your own. So I'm going to substitute 9.5 where the y is on the left-hand side of the equation and just evaluate it. So 0.3 times 15.5 and 0.3 times 15.5 is equal to 4.65. I just used a calculator for that to go quickly. Okay, and then the right-hand side, I have 5.6 minus 0.1 times 9.5. So 0.1 times 9.5 is just going to be 0.95. And then I'm going to subtract here and end up with 4.65. Oops, I shouldn't box that in because it's not the solution. It's just showing that the left-hand side does equal the right-hand side. So we've found the correct solution. Okay, last but not least, let's deal with fraction. So here, when I have fractions, I'm going to use my little trick to get rid of them right away before we start. So I'm going to multiply everything by something that both 3 and 5 go into nicely. So I'm going to multiply everything by 15. So as long as I do the same thing to both sides of the equation, we're good to go. So here I will have 15. Now 15 divided by 3 is 5. So it'll essentially multiply everything on that side by 5. So I could write it like this if I want. And then 15 divided by 5 is 3. So essentially it multiplies everything on that side by 3. Then I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 5 and the 3. So I'll have 10h plus 20 equals 24 minus 6h. And I'm going to choose to move all the h's to one side. I have to pick which side I want to pick. So I'm going to keep everything positive and add 6h to both sides and cancel it out on that side. Again, you could choose the other side, but it's just easier to work with positive numbers. So we're going to subtract 20. So we're going to have 16h equals 4, and then divide by 16. You can reduce that to 1/4 or 0.25. Okay, let's go ahead and verify. Again, you can stop here and try on your own if you want to. We have 2 times 1/4 plus 4 all over 3. 2 times 1/4 is 0.5. And 4.5 divided by 3 is 1.5. Okay, let's check the right hand side. We have 8 minus 0.5 over 5. So we have 7.5 divided by 5, which is also 1.5. So we see the right hand side is equal to the left hand side when we substitute 1/4, so we know we've got the equation correct.